Game on. Hey there, game gurus. Welcome back to the channel. Today's really almost like a Seinfeld episode. It's really a show about nothing, but kind of something. So, I've had my channel for almost 9 years now. And I finally did one of my major projects where I've actually come out with my own console. Now, with this console, there's batteries in here and there's electronics in here. And, they don't last forever. As we all know, being retro gamers, sometimes machines need maintenance. So, the show's not about this either. Just kind of me thinking, because before this, I had lots of other projects I had done over these past almost 9 years, actually, on this channel. And because of my flood down here, a lot of my stuff's been put away for a long time, and I haven't really taken them out or even know where they went. But I just started hunting earlier today, and I started finding some of the old projects I did work on. And I'm like, do they even work anymore? Do the batteries even charge anymore? Do the electronics work in them anymore? I have no idea. So this episode's really going to be about some of the projects I've done over the years on my channel, personal or for the show, and take a look at them, see if they still work, and if they don't, it won't be in this episode. Maybe I'll have to go make another episode on a repair if necessary. So that's what today's show is about. Really just look at some of my old projects, whether they were completed or not, and some I forgot about and were not completed, but others were. And I just want to see, what the status is. Do they work? Are they broke? Whatever. Well, in any case, shut up, Glenn, and let's get the show started. Let's see what we got. Okay, well, these are, or is, the very first project I worked on converting to a Raspberry Pi. I saw these back when Toys R Us were still in existence, and I looked at them and I said, you know what, these would be a perfect way to convert these over into Raspberry Pi. Now, I originally got the idea from Neil Henry. Now, Neil Henry runs a Facebook group called Old Made New, where he takes old Coleco or other little units and converts them into Raspberry Pi. That's where the idea initially came from. And when I saw these, I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. Now, I had never done this before. I had no information on a Raspberry Pi, LCD screens, nothing. But I did get them to work. So, do they still work? Let's find out. So the Basic Fun Zero and Pac-Man was the very first one I converted to a Raspberry Pi Zero, and I went to go plug in the charger, and the little charging port fell in because it was hot glued. So we'll take a quick look around this machine as it is. So I did put in, it's a 2.7 inch screen in here. I rewired all the controls and the speakers. You can see in the back right here, I did put a safe shutdown button in there. There is the on-off switch over here for the main unit. Here is the SD card slot right here with the SD card in there. And this is for the headphone jack. I put that in here. So I'm going to have to open this thing up and re-hot glue the little micro USB there because, well, it fell inside, so I can't charge it. Right in the beginning, already a problem. Well, let me fix this bad boy and then we'll take a look. Okay, since I had to open it anyway, you can see on the back where the battery compartment was, I actually fit in a USB hub, and I put in, since it was a Pi Zero, there was no wireless, I added a wireless Wi-Fi card here and the volume control inside the battery compartment. But you can see how tight everything was in here, and it's amazing that I got stuff into even smaller devices we'll get into soon. And I'm really proud of this, though, even though it's not working now, that was the very first person in the world to convert these over to Raspberry Pis. And yes, I'm saying that because it is the truth. But again, I got to see if I can fix this. I could see where the little USB dislodged inside the case here. And you see all this wonderful wires. In any case, let me get back to fix this bad boy and see if it actually works. Okay, so I had this charging for a little while, not too long, but hopefully long enough. And one of the good things about using Raspberry Pi is you can see I have a TV behind here, that even though this is, a small project, it does support HDMI out. And I think the screen might be rotated wrong because I have a vertical screen here, it's horizontal. But HDMI out does work if I recall. It's been a while since I turned this thing on. And of course, having USB ports in the back means I can also use external controllers. So theoretically, this is the spiritual successor, the grandfather, if you will, of the Build-A-Cade. To be quite honest, it has a lot of the same functions and abilities. But let's see now. I've had the battery charging for a little bit. And again, I don't know if it's actually going to work properly, but this is one of the things you have to remember when you have anything with batteries inside, especially like lithium polymer type batteries or LiPo batteries. you do have to charge them once in a while. These have not been charged in quite some time. So when you have like New Wave Toys or any of these other machines, even the Build-A-Cade with these built-in batteries, you do want to charge them once in a while. Now, worst case scenario is you have to remove the battery and replace it. Again, this is not super hard. I do have to open it to put a battery in, and the battery is not very large, but I'm talking a lot. Let's turn this thing on and see what we get. Here we go. Okay, we got a Raspberry Pi logo on the TV set. Now the TV set's using HDMI out, where here I'm basically using code to get the display working over GPIO. So it will come up eventually, but not as quick as the back screen, because the back screen obviously is built right into the chipset, where I'm copying it through code to the internal screen. So the other drawback is it's not as fast drawing on the internal screen as it would be on the external monitor, but it should come up in a moment. And you can see it is rotated 90 degrees, which it would be for this screen, which is where it's really meant to be played. There we go. The code just came active and it came on the internal display. So inside here I have a Raspberry Pi Zero, a lithium polymer battery, a charging circuit, and I have all the controllers going to the GPIO pins inside the machine. And it looks like so far so good. Aside from the problem with the power connector, I had to re-glue. But we have basically all the buttons here. We have insert coins. We have our joystick here. And let's see if the joystick works. I have to go left and right. And it still does. Look at that. Okay, so the machine does work. Again, the big thing is with these, you have to make sure the battery gets charged once in a while. And actually, I don't know if you can see it on the camera. There's a little bit of a red light here, which how I knew if the machine was charging or not when I plugged into the back. But the machine does still work. Let's see if I can go into a game here. It's been a while. I'm not sure which buttons even work, or the right ones anymore. Let's just pick something. Berserk. I like Berserk. Actually, turn up the volume a little bit. See if the volume is turned off here. All right. Let me see if I put a coin in. I think this is putting in the coin. One of these do. There we go. There's my coins. And start the game. It is working. I don't know if the this machine's set up right now for audio on HDMI out. It's probably on the internal screen. I have no idea if the volume's even on here, or if there are sound samples. Again, this has been a while. This is a very early machine I did, but it does work, and I can hear the speaker humming in the background. So this may not have some games. I think it's pressed both of these at the same time. There we go. To get out, let me try this different game just see if we have sound effects here. Let's try Crazy Climber. No, Crazy Climber's no good. Dig Dug. Let's try some Dig Dug. Okay, let me try putting in a coin. There we go. All right, well, guys, still works. Of course, again, this screen is not rotated properly, but it is on this screen. What I'm going to do is disconnect the monitor on the back here, have everything fall to its doom. You can see right here, the machine is working. The screen is actually really, really good. I still have it plugged into power, but again, I can use external controllers on here. And this is my safe shutdown button. So if I press this, the machine should safe down, shut down properly. Okay, so let's take a look at another one of my machines, the Space Invaders, and see if that one works. So this I'm going to shut down. Got the little power on the back here and turn this guy off. I'll let him charge a little bit longer because obviously it hasn't been charged in a long time. But let's take a look at my other one. I'm going to put this panel back on here as well. Don't want to lose that. Like so. Moves over to the side. Okay, so some good news. My other one worked, and I've had this one here. This is the Space Invaders 02. So the 01 and 02 were the very first ones I did. So these guys I'm amazed they worked at all. I'm amazed I crammed everything in here. I had to put a charging circuit in, I had to put a battery in. I threw a 4-port hub in the battery compartment, wired the controls. But here's this one here. Let's get a little bit closer here. We're going to turn this guy on. Has been charging a while. Again, I cut a small hole in the back here for the micro USB, and I cut a hole here for the SD card. And of course, inside here is where I put a hub. Let me get my screwdriver real quick. I should have kept it with me anyway. Of course, I've had videos on these on my channel for quite some time. But if I open this door right here, what took the longest time was I was filing, because you know, had to file and make room for everything here. So here you can see I put a 4-port hub. There's 1, 2, 3. The 4th is actually hidden under here. Here's the Raspberry Pi Zero. This is before the W's, so this is not wireless. That's why I had to put this in here for the Wi-Fi card. And I had to put an amplifier circuit in here, which is the volume control. And since I had to put a speaker in there anyway, I threw a headphone jack on there. This is supposed to be my safe shutdown button or escape. And then this tiny little thing right here is the on-off button. But you can see you can still do HDMI out with the HDMI out being right there. I'm going to put this thing back on. And the reason I'm talking a bit longer, I just wanted to have it charged a little bit longer to make sure, you know, it's actually charging. And let's get this thing back in here. But the rest of it, like I said, the rest of it looks, I even tried with this. Just tried to keep it look as stock as possible. Now again, I may have done the first of these in the world, but over at Old Made New, Neil Henry will convert these for you. Of course, it's a cost. It's not cheap because there's a lot of manual labor to do these. But that's what the Build-A-Cade is about now. It's a lot cheaper and you can kind of make your own. But enough talk, Glenn. Let's see if this works. Again, the way I set this up was this was putting in your quarters. And this is your player 1 start. So you put your quarter in start. Then your action buttons and, of course, your joystick. But let's turn this little guy on and see if it actually works or if it bombs out like the first one. Here we go. Gotta get that little switch. Which, of course, I cut my nails. Which is probably not the right time to do it. Oh, that's what the screwdriver is for, I guess, right? Too small a switch. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I hear it. Looks like the light discrete went on. Of course, it does take time because this is not a regular HDMI screen. I'm actually going over, it's called a DSI screen. Actually, that's even more advanced than what I'm using here. I'm just copying the video memory over the GPIO pins into this display. So it's much slower, but I needed space. The big thing for me was to try and save as much space as possible. So it does take a little while before you see anything on the screen to let you know it's working. Other than you can hear the speaker going and I can see lights on the back of the machine flickering slightly. The camera wouldn't pick that up. But we're getting close, I think. Or it may be going into a boot loop due to low battery. I think that's what it's doing right now. Yep, that's what it's doing right now. So the battery's not charged long enough. So I have to turn this thing back off and we'll try it again in a little bit. Okay, it took another 20 minutes, but it looks like now it is coming up. Again, the big issue with these guys is the batteries. You need to make sure these lithium ion or lithium polymer batteries keep the charge. Even when it's in an off state, they're going to, you know, slowly lose current. But you can see it is working. Once again, the little joystick is going through the menus. So let me take a look at my next one. Which I'm taking something of this size and I'm going to cram it into something even smaller, which was quite a challenge. But I'm good to see these guys are still working. Again, just need to have their batteries charged. So let's take a look at the next unit I worked on from Super Impulse. Okay, so here we go. So this is the smallest I've gotten. And once again, this was the world's first. When I had done this, no one had done it before. Again, you can go over to Old Made New. Neil Henry can make these. Again, they're not going to be cheap because there is a lot of work. But at the time, I was the first one to do this one. And this is the Super Impulse Pac-Man. And I did cram in a Raspberry Pi Zero, charging circuit, amplifier circuit, speaker, whole 9 yards, and it was not easy. This is a 1.44-inch screen in there. I think Neil now uses an IPS screen. This is definitely not an IPS screen. In fact, the monitor I used in here had some weird little issues where there'll be some screen corruption on the sides, just because there was some compatibility issue, I think, or a firmware issue with the Raspberry Pi. I'm not 100% sure. But it does have a light-up marquee. It does have a built-in battery. Now with this one here, I do have a joystick in the front and the 2 buttons. Now on the back, this is actually another joystick right here. This is an 8-way joystick, but you can also press down in. So I use a lot of functions back here that I couldn't do otherwise. There is an on-off switch here. The speaker is on the bottom. And it does have a battery inside, but like the other ones, it had a charge. So I'm not sure if it's fully charged yet, but we're going to find out. So I'm going to turn this little bad boy on. So again, you play the game with the joystick and 2 buttons, which is neat. But on the back, this joystick back here would be, you know, escape, put in coins, start the game. And I really have no idea anymore which direction went which way. I can go into the retro game and, you know, see what keys and what I set up for it in there. But again, I just pulled these things out and I just wanted to see if things are working because they've been sitting for years. And I'm going to turn this bad boy on. Let's see what happens. Okay, our my key has lit up and the screen lit up. Now there's a lot of interference because everything is so tight. None of the wires are shielded. It was just trying to make this thing work. And I think this one also is still too low and it's boot looping. So this guy's gonna have to sit a little bit longer. Yeah, I'm pretty confident that's what it's doing. So we'll turn this thing back off and we'll have to take a look at it a little bit later. Once again, it's showing that you have to keep these charged. My new concern is like the new Wave Toys cabinets and the Build-A-Cade. You should probably at least every month, maybe every 2 months, just plug them in for a little while, make sure they fire up and let the batteries charge and go back to capacity. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the beast with lithium polymer and lithium ion batteries, that they are going to degrade. And you know, there are machines that will still boot up with even a low battery or a dead battery. But these things, again, are very basic. I was learning, for sure, as I was going through all this. So, like the Build-A-Cade will still boot. If the battery's dead, it's going to boot up. The charging circuit can bypass. That's not a problem. But these little bad boys, using an Adafruit, very low, small power units that rely a little bit on the battery state to supply the proper voltage over through the to the Raspberry Pi. So let's just sit a little bit longer, and we'll come back to it. Okay, let this sit another 20 minutes, and we're seeing what we get. There's no flickering anymore on the screen or the marquee, so I think the battery state of charge is a little bit better. It's looking good so far. The screen went blank, which means it reset the display circuit. Again, since this screen is going over the GPIO, it's not directly over HDMI. I have to wait for the code to be engaged before the screen does anything. Nope, looks like it needs a little bit more time. So we'll let this sit. Okay, while I wait for the Super Impulse Pac-Man to hopefully charge the battery, it's not looking so good right now. That might need a battery replacement. This is the other one. This is the little tabletop that they had made, which was a little bit easier to do because there's more room in here. This one also, I didn't have any battery at the time, so there's no battery actually in here. It has to be plugged in. But all the controllers here work. It's a 1.44-inch screen, again GPIO based. We have the USB ports back here, and the power. Again, there's no battery in this one. I could put one in, just didn't have one at the time when I built it. The SD card on this one is accessible on the side, where in the Pac-Man you actually have to open the unit to get to the SD card. I hate doing that, and I think it's the only one that's that way. All the rest I made the SD card accessible. And then on the bottom of the unit we have our on-off switch, and then, you know, coin, start, escape. And I don't really remember what this is because, again, it's been a long time. So now this one, again, I could have had HDMI outcome on it, but I just didn't do it. So in any case, I'm going to plug this little guy in here. It's a micro USB. I think it's going this way to the power button on the back. So this one should fire up. I don't see why it wouldn't. But again, it's been a while, so I don't know. So we're going to find out as soon as I put this in here. If I can get it in. There we go. Okay, we got the screen turning on. And again, being GPIO based for the display, I have to copy the video RAM over. So unlike an HDMI screen, it'll take a little while to come up. And I don't know if you can see it, there's a little like corruption on the bottom. It looks like garbage lines. That's just because I guess I need to update the Raspberry Pi software, which I'm going to try and do at some point. But it's actually on this side and this side. It's very, you can kind of just see it in the very, very bottom right there. Again, the rest of the screen is fine. And what I did originally, I took a magic marker and I just magic markered over it, and I just took it off saying I'll fix it at some point. But at some point hasn't happened yet. And we're still waiting for it to load its screen. There we go. There's some text going by, which means it took the code for the GPIO display. Again, it does have a small amplifier in here and speaker. And I think I had this go right into the game. Yep, we're right into Donkey Kong. So you can kind of hear there's a lot of static because it's GPIO sound as well. It's not a USB one, which would have given you much cleaner sound. But again, these were just prototypes, things to do that were never done before. And this again was the first one ever done in this form factor. And let me see if I remember which one is the coins. I don't know. It's been a long, long time. Oh, well, that escaped the game. So I guess that button's escape. So I went to the wrong side. Let's see what game it loads up next. I think on this one I had to go into a few games automatically. Or did I shut it down? Ooh, that might have been the shutdown button. I think that was. So if I press it again, in theory, it should boot it back up. This is what happens, you don't write things down and you forget. So when I pressed it, it may take a few seconds before I see any. There we go. Yep. So this button all the way over here, this button right here, is the safe shutdown. So I have to let it reboot up again. So this is probably safe shutdown, escape the game, and then coin and start on this side. So it may go back into Donkey Kong. I'm not quite sure. You see how small this little guy is? These super impulses. They did a nice job with these little things. And they were like 20 bucks. You got them at Walmart for like 12. Okay, there's my text, so that's all working. So I'm pretty confident that the Pac-Man battery is just dead. These batteries weren't even new to begin with. I generally try and use stuff that I have lying around anyway. So the batteries were already ancient. Okay, so this must be coin. There we go. And there's start. And again, the sound is very staticky, but it's GPIO sound on a Raspberry Pi Zero. And this is probably my jump button and my joystick, so I'll see if I can kind of do it this way. This must be my jump button. Here we go. Very hard to do this way, I'll tell you. You can see it's a tiny screen, but it's very playable. And I mean, come on, playing the real arcade machine on something this small is amazing. So we're going to shut this one down. We see this does work. There's no battery to worry about in this one. Hit that safe shutdown button. It'll go to sleep. Let's take a look at the next one I have in my list. Here's one I did very differently. I've always been a big fan of Crazy Climber and Robotron. And Basic Fun I knew was going to make one of those. At least, well, they never did, and I highly doubt they're going to do it at this point. So I took, I think it was Defender, because it had the extra buttons on here. And I took one joystick, and I took a joystick out of another machine I had, and I made my own joystick over here. So I made a secondary joystick. Both these using micro switches, so I changed out their board. I still have my coin and start, 2 action buttons, and 2 joysticks on this. It's also a GPIO screen. If you look at the back over here, I took one of the spots that used to lock the device into the box. It was big enough to put the micro SD card slot, so that's where the micro SD card slot is. My charging port is down here, so I have the micro SD. Oh, no, it's right there. I'm sorry. Micro SD is right there. Must have been a reason why I didn't put it there. Now, I changed it here. I didn't have room in this side, probably because of the way I did the joysticks. So here's the Raspberry Pi Zero. I can still do HDMI out here, and I have a single, this is the USB port, so I can connect a controller or a hub or anything to the back of that. I also have a the reset button right there, so I want to do a safe shutdown. That's in there. So I kind of, changed things out a little bit where I could. To try to make things a little bit different where I could. And let me put this stuff back in here and close this case back up. And we're going to try and fire this guy back right up. Again, this one was really interesting because, again, the control scheme I made in this was, again, completely customized. But we're going to turn this thing on, which, I don't remember where the power switch is. God, I am really getting bad with this type of stuff. Was it this one? Oh, there we go. And it looks like the screen might be a little bit damaged. I'm not quite sure. But let's see if it powers up or not. It looks like the reflective coating to the screen may have come dislodged. Okay, it's playing my really old intro video. My God. But I think, there it is. Now I think inside this machine, it is a Raspberry Pi Zero, which was not fast enough to play that video. And the screen overall looks okay, but you can see the LEDs, the side loading is coming across. And I think when I was building this, the back part of the screen became delaminated, and I was so far along the build I just left it as it is. Again, when you put it on the side, it doesn't look too bad. But the machine does seem to still work, so I'm going to see if I can do a little gameplay of this in just 1 second. I've got to move the camera, so hold on 1 second. Okay, I think I remember this button here is my safe shutdown. That might be my coins. So let's find out. Yep, that's my coins. And this should start it. There we go. Very hard to do standing up, I'll tell you that right now. Ah, I'm in trouble. I'm trying. This is impossible. So it does work, which is the main thing. So it does work. So that's how I start the game. That's how I put in the quarters. And that's my safe shutdown. When I press this button back here, it's going to go to sleep. So it still works. This one's good. This one does have a screen issue with those LEDs. But again, when you look at it straight on, it looks fine. Now it looks like an arcade one-up monitor. So it's not a big deal. Now we're used to that, right? But all right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, here's my next one I did. Again, all of these were the first time anyone had done any of these, so I'm very proud of that fact, so I do say it a lot, I'm tooting my own horn, but I put a lot of work into these. So here's a basic, fun Mortal Kombat, and I think actually this one has Raspberry Pi 2 in it. I think I didn't have anything else, so this one eventually I'm going to swap out for Raspberry Pi 4. Because Mortal Kombat really didn't play too well on this one, if I remember correctly. It was not fast enough. But if I put a Raspberry Pi 4 in here, which I will, same form factor, it'll be much better. But again, over here is the micro SD card slot on the side of the machine. And then on the back, we have, this is either my safe shutdown or my coins. I don't really remember. Here is the micro power connector. And let's see what I have in here. If I put switches or hubs in here, I don't remember. Again, this has been such a long time. So many projects, I don't really remember, which is kind of silly because you think, you work hard on these things, you would remember, but I really don't. Come on. This is not the right screwdriver. It's doing more sliding than turning. There we go. So the only thing I have in here is just the volume control. That's it. And you can kind of see everything else that's in there. A lot of filing, a lot of cutting, a lot of sanding to get things to fit. Again, with 3D printing now, you can just 3D print one of these cases and be done with it. But like the other one, this would be my on-off button. So I'm going to guess that that is my coins, and that's going to be the start. And well, let's find out. And the battery here might be completely dead because this was charging for a while. I got nothing. So let me get a power cord and see if we can connect it and go that route. So I have a power cord right here. This may have a completely dead battery. This thing was charging for quite some time. If I get anything to fit, that is. There we go. Here we go. Okay, it did get power. See, the screen had to be upside down to make it work. And getting some screen flicker, but it is booting. So here we go. It is. This is a Raspberry Pi 4, really. It's got 4, so this is a 4. But if I remember right, Mortal Kombat didn't play too well on this bad boy. I thought this was a 3. But I am getting the lightning bolt indicator, meaning I'm not having enough power going in here. And the screen looks like it's a little tilted. You can see the black line on there. That's easy enough to fix. Just some hot glue will take care of that. Or that is shifted on its own, which is also possible. I'm going to bet maybe the screen came loose and shifted. But my joystick still works. And not sure which one picks the game anymore. Nope. There we go. Let's pick something here. I love the TurboGrafx 16. A lot of good games on it. Especially Shumps. So it does work, and I think it's these two buttons. Let's see. Yep. I'll get back to the main menu, but we're going to shut it down. So this guy is working. This needs a little, to get the screen fixed a little bit. But outside of that, everything else seems to be good. So let's take a look at the next machine. But that's it for this video. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you did like the video, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, and most of all, smash that like button. It really helps out the channel. It just takes a second for you guys, but it helps me out a lot. But in any case, whether you do or not, whether you hit the like button or whether you like the video or not, I do appreciate you spending some time here. And remember to tell your family and friends that you love them. Tomorrow's never promised. And most of all, no matter how you do it or what you play, just remember to game on. Game on. Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.